I still remember the day I found out like it was yesterday. Honestly, I can't believe I didn't see it coming sooner. My wife, Jessica, had always been the type to keep things to herself, but lately there been little things, hidden phone calls, sneaky texts when she thought I wasn't looking, and her being overly defensive whenever I asked about her whereabouts. At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just stressed or working late. We'd been together for over 3 years, planning our wedding, and I genuinely thought she loved me. But deep down, I guess I knew something was off. The signs weren't loud or obvious, but enough to make me feel uneasy. Every time I tried to talk to her about it, she'd throw a fit, call me paranoid, or accuse me of not trusting her. That's Jessica for you, bitchy, manipulative, and great at hiding her actual intentions behind a mask of innocence. She'd lie with a straight face, say she was at a friend's house or working late, but I'd catch her sneaking around with her phone in the bathroom or late at night when she thought I was asleep. Little things, but enough to make me suspicious. Still, I loved her, so I didn't want to believe she'd betray me like this. Then I noticed her behavior changed even more. She started dressing differently, more provocative, more suggestive. I'd come home and find her sitting on the couch in a tight dress, lacy lingerie sometimes, and she'd give me this smug smile like she was just trying to rub it in my face. That was the moment I knew something was really wrong, but I didn't want to accept it. Instead, I kept convincing myself that maybe I was overreacting, that she loved me, that it was just stress or a phase. How naive I was. But everything hit the fan the day I decided to check her phone when she was in the shower. I know that's invasive, but I'd had enough of her secretive bullshit. I just wanted to see if she was hiding something. And what I found made my stomach drop. There were messages, flirty, suggestive messages between her and someone named Jake. At first glance, I thought it was some dude from her work, but then I saw the last message. Can't wait to see you tonight. Miss. You, that was enough to make my blood boil. I opened her chat history and it was clear she'd been seeing this guy for weeks, maybe longer. She lied for months about where she was working late or with friends, and in reality she was secretly going to meet some guy, Jake, her brother's best friend of all people. I was stunned, completely lost. I couldn't believe the girl I loved, the girl I was about to marry, was sleeping around with her brother's best friend. Someone she knew I hated and couldn't stand. I felt like my entire world was crashing down around me. I didn't cry or yell right then. I just stared at the screen, trying to process the betrayal. How could she do this? How could she lie for months, pretend everything was fine, and then cheat on me with someone so close to her family? It felt like a punch in the stomach, a betrayal so deep I wasn't sure if I'd recover from it. The worst part, I had no idea how long she'd been doing this, or with whom else she might have been cheating. I felt numb, like I was in some twisted nightmare I couldn't wake up from. And as I sat there staring at her messages, I knew I had to confront her. I had to hear her lie again, or maybe, for the first time, hear the truth. But I also knew that this was just the beginning. The real chaos was about to start. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My mind kept racing, replaying all the moments that now felt like lies. Every smile, every touch, every "I love you" suddenly seemed hollow. I kept asking myself how I missed it, how I was so blind. How did I not see her sneaking around with Jake, her brother's best friend, the guy I always told myself I couldn't stand? I remember feeling this mix of anger, betrayal, and deep heartbreak all at once. It was like my entire sense of reality had been shattered. Morning came, but I was still numb. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure how. When I finally woke her up, she looked at me with that fake innocent smile she always used, the one that used to make me feel secure. But now, it just made me sick. "Jessica," I said, voice trembling, "I know what you've been doing. I saw your messages, the ones with Jake." Her eyes widened for a second, then she snapped, rolling her eyes and throwing her hair back like I was just some annoying fly. "You're crazy," she said, voice dripping with contempt. "You're jumping to conclusions. You don't have proof." Proof? I had the screenshots on my phone. I could have shown her right there, but I didn't want to turn this into a circus. Instead, I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You've been lying to me for months. You lied about where you were, who you were with, and now I find out you're cheating on me with Jake. How could you? After everything we planned, after I trusted you." She scoffed and rolled her eyes again. Trust me, it's not what you think. You're overreacting. Jake's just a friend, nothing more. You're just paranoid. That's when I snapped. How could she be so cold, so dismissive? The girl I loved, the girl I was going to marry, just dismissed everything like it was nothing. I felt my blood boil. I didn't yell or shout, I just felt this immense weight settle on my chest. I looked at her and said, "You lied for so long. You hid your real self from me. I thought I knew you, Jessica. But now I see that the person I thought I was marrying was just a facade. You cheated on me, lied to my face, and dismissed my feelings like they don't matter." She rolled her eyes again and that smirk returned. "You're being dramatic," she said. "It's not a big deal. People mess up. Everyone makes mistakes." Mistakes. That's what she called cheating. That's what she called lying about her whereabouts for months. I was trying to process what she said. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal of everything we'd built. The next few hours were a blur. I remember sitting there, staring at her, feeling this intense mix of anger and sadness. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, that she'd betray me so openly, so shamelessly. My heart was pounding, and I knew I couldn't stay in that house anymore. I told her I needed space, told her I was done for now, and I left. I didn't know where I was going, just somewhere away from her, away from the nightmare she'd become. As I drove away, I thought about everything, how she lied, how she used to be so sweet, how she turned into this manipulative, lying woman. I felt stupid for trusting her, for thinking maybe we could work things out. But deep down, I knew I couldn't just forgive her. Not after discovering she was sleeping with her brother's best friend, Jake. Not after she lied for months and made me think I was losing my mind. My heart was shattered, and I was furious at the whole situation. I didn't want to be the guy who got played like a fool, but here I was, feeling like a complete idiot. I started thinking about what I wanted to do next. Part of me wanted revenge, to make her feel as small and betrayed as I did. But another part just wanted to get out of this mess and rebuild myself somehow. I knew this was going to change everything. My trust, how I see relationships, maybe even how I see myself. It was like my world had been turned upside down overnight. I still couldn't believe she'd do this, especially with someone so close to her family like Jake. It was one thing to cheat, but with someone who was supposed to be a friend, a brother figure. That's what cut the deepest. Now, sitting in my car, I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about who she truly was underneath that fake facade. I'd been so blind, so willing to believe in us, but she showed me her true colors. I felt broken, but part of me also knew I had to do something about it. I couldn't just let her walk away like nothing happened. I needed to plan my next move carefully because this betrayal wasn't going to go unpunished. I just didn't know what that looked like yet. After I drove away, I spent the rest of that day trying to collect myself, but honestly, it was almost impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirk, her dismissive attitude, that smug look she always had when she thought she was in control. The betrayal ran so deep it felt like I was hemorrhaging inside. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how. I let her manipulate me for so long. I thought about all the times I'd been patient, trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, and how she just kept lying, playing me for a fool. By evening, I knew I couldn't just let this slide. My mind was racing with options. I'd always been someone who believed in justice, in making people pay for their wrongdoings. And Jessica, she deserved to feel the sting of knowing I knew the truth all along. I didn't want to just walk away broken. I wanted her to understand the magnitude of what she'd done. I wanted her to see that her lies and betrayal weren't going to be swept under the rug. I started planning. I knew I had to be smart. If I just confronted her again, she'd probably deny everything, call me crazy, and spin some bullshit about how I was overreacting. I had to think of a way to make her see that I knew everything. I remembered the emails I'd seen on her laptop, more messages, more lies. I found some of her social media accounts, sneaked onto them late at night, and started digging through her posts and messages. She was still posting half-truths, pretending to be happy, acting like everything was normal. She was good at hiding her true self, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it anymore. I also knew I had to protect myself emotionally. I couldn't just go nuclear, but I could set some traps, some subtle moves that would expose her lies even more. I wanted her to see I wasn't some naive fool anymore. If she thought she could lie, cheat, and dismiss me without consequences, she was dead wrong. I started gathering evidence, screenshots, recordings, anything that could prove what she'd done if I needed to use it later. I'd learned from past experiences that people like Jessica, who lie and manipulate, only understand one thing: power. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her directly again until I was ready. Instead, I'd let her live in her little bubble of lies while I stayed quiet, gathering everything I needed. I wanted her to underestimate me, to think I was just going to roll over. I wanted her to feel like she had won, so I could hit her with everything all at once. When the time was right. That's how I operate. I'm not impulsive. I prefer to strike when it counts. Meanwhile, I reached out to a few close friends I trusted, people who had no stake in the situation but could give me honest advice. I needed a clear head, someone to tell me I wasn't crazy for feeling this betrayed. They listened, told me to stay calm, and reminded me that I deserved better than Jessica's lies and cheating. They told me I was smart for not jumping to conclusions right away, but that I shouldn't let her control me anymore. Honestly, those words gave me some strength. I started to see a way forward, even if it was just a small glimmer. By the end of the night, I was exhausted but focused. I knew I couldn't let Jessica get away with it, not without some kind of repercussions. I was hurt, yes, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd been blinded by love, but now I saw her for what she really was, someone who lied, cheated, and dismissed my feelings like they didn't matter. I made a vow to myself. I'd get my revenge, not in some petty way, but in a way that would hit her hardest. I didn't know exactly what that was yet, but I knew I'd find the way. I had to. Because if I didn't, I'd be just another fool letting her walk all over me. I stayed up most of the night, planning my next steps. I knew some kind of storm was coming, but I was ready for it. Jessica had played her hand, and I was about to play mine. This was no longer just about catching her cheating. It was about reclaiming myself and making her understand she couldn't manipulate or betray me without facing the consequences. I didn't want her to think she could lie her way out of this, because she couldn't. Not anymore. The next morning, I woke up with a fierce resolve. I knew I had to act fast before she realized I was onto her. I spent the first few hours collecting every bit of evidence I could find: screenshots of her messages, saved calls, even little details like her hiding her phone whenever I came near. I wasn't planning to just confront her blindly. I wanted to do this on my terms when I was fully ready to expose her. The plan was simple but ruthless: make her believe I was still unsuspecting, get her to reveal more, then hit her with everything at once. While she was still in bed pretending to be innocent, I played it cool, acting like I hadn't seen the messages. I started asking her questions about her day, her plans, subtly pushing for her to slip up. Jessica's always been good at playing the victim. She's bitchy, manipulative, and she loves keeping people off balance. I knew I had to stay calm, keep my composure, and let her talk herself into a corner. I kept my voice steady, nonchalant, but inside I was seething. Then unexpectedly she slipped. She was brushing her hair in the mirror and I caught her eye. She looked nervous, more nervous than I'd ever seen her. That smug, dismissive attitude was replaced by something closer to panic. She tried to brush it off, smirking and saying, "What's with the interrogation? I told you I'm just busy with work." But I wasn't buying it. I leaned in slightly, making sure she saw I meant business. "Jessica, I know about Jake. I know what you've been doing behind my back. I saw your messages. I know everything." Her face froze for a second, the smirk vanishing completely. Then she snapped, raising her voice, trying to deny everything. "You're crazy. Stop jumping to conclusions. You don't have proof of anything." That's when I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots I'd saved. Her face turned white and her eyes darted around as if trying to come up with some counterargument. But I had her cornered. She knew it. Her bitchy attitude shifted into full-blown defiance, but I kept calm because I knew I was winning. "You lied to me for months," I said. "You told me you were working late, out with friends, whatever. Meanwhile, you were sleeping with Jake, your brother's best friend of all people. How could you do that to me? How could you lie to my face, play me like I was some fool? She started to cry, but it was fake, I could tell. That fake sobbing and acting like the victim, it was her usual manipulation. I saw right through it. Her excuses were predictable. She kept saying, it's not what it looks like, we're just friends and it doesn't mean anything. I lost count of how many times she threw out those lines like somehow that made everything okay, but I was done listening. I told her I wasn't stupid anymore, that I knew she'd been lying to me from the start. I told her I didn't want her anymore, that I was done being played for a fool. Her face twisted into this bitchy scowl and she spat back, "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I'm still beautiful and guys like me. That's why you're angry." That comment made my blood boil. The way she said it, so full of disdain, like she was some goddess who could do no wrong, just confirmed everything I'd suspected about her. She's manipulative, selfish, and completely indifferent to how much she hurt me. I knew then I had to make her pay, in some way she'd never forget. I couldn't just walk away without a fight. She thought she was untouchable, that her lies would never be uncovered, but I was about to change that. I told her she had one chance to come clean and tell me the truth, or I'd be gone for good. She hesitated, then finally looked at me, eyes still filled with fake tears. "Fine," she whispered. "Yes, I've been sleeping with Jake. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, but I guess I was just bored. It's not a big deal. I love you, but I needed something else." Hearing her say it out loud made me feel sick. The girl I thought I knew, the girl I was planning a future with, was just a liar and a cheat. At that moment, I realized I couldn't stay with her, not anymore. Whatever love I had left was draining out of me fast. I felt more betrayed than I ever had in my life. It was like she'd punch me in the gut, then spit on my face. I told her I was leaving, that I'd never look at her the same way again. She begged, of course, crying and screaming about how she still loved me and how she was sorry, but I wasn't buying her act anymore. The girl who lied at every turn, who manipulated everyone around her, was not the girl I wanted to marry. That confrontation marked the beginning of a new chapter, one I'd never imagined I'd have to face. I'd never felt so humiliated, so angry, so broken, but deep down I knew I had to do this for myself. I couldn't let her walk all over me, not anymore. The betrayal was too deep, the lie too big. She might have been my wife soon, but now I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with anything. And I was done being her pawn. The aftermath hit me harder than I expected. After I confronted Jessica and made it clear I was leaving, she turned into a screaming banshee, throwing everything she could find, pillows, glasses, even her phone, trying to guilt me, manipulate me, anything to keep me from walking out. But I'd already made up my mind. I packed a bag, didn't even bother to argue anymore. I just wanted to get out of there and start healing. That night I stayed at a friend's place, one I trusted completely. The next day was a blur of phone calls, planning what to do next and trying to piece myself back together. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. The betrayal was one thing, but the humiliation of her lying and pretending everything was fine for so long, that cut the deepest. Honestly, I felt lost, like I'd been living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. It was surreal. I kept replaying all the moments we'd shared, all the times I'd ignored my gut feeling, all the signs I'd brushed aside because I loved her. But now I knew I had to focus on myself. I couldn't let her win, not this way. I started thinking about what I wanted to do, how I was going to move past this. I knew I needed to cut all contact with her for a while, maybe permanently. Jessica wasn't the girl I thought she was, and I couldn't keep pretending she was. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations, they all added up to someone I couldn't trust anymore. I had to erase her from my life and rebuild myself from the ground up. In the days that followed, I threw myself into work and tried to stay busy. I blocked her number, her social media, everything that reminded me of her. I knew I needed space to heal, too. Process what had happened without her trying to drag me back into her chaos. Sometimes, I'd get these waves of anger and regret, but I forced myself to stay strong. I kept telling myself I deserved better than a cheating, lying wife who thought she could get away with everything. It was a hard lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. What really changed for me was how I started to see relationships differently. I used to believe in fairy tale love, that someone could be perfect, that everything would always work out. Now I saw how naive that was. People like Jessica, with her manipulative ways, only hurt those who trust them blindly. I'd been a fool, but I was slowly waking up. I realized I needed to focus on my own happiness, my own peace, instead of clinging to what was clearly broken beyond repair. And as I sat there reflecting on everything, I was angry at her, so angry that she'd do this to us. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. I'd finally seen her true face and I was free from her grip. I knew I'd be okay eventually. I'd rebuild my life, find someone who actually deserved my trust and love, not some manipulative bitch who thought cheating was just a game. This experience, brutal as it was, taught me a lot about myself. It showed me I was stronger than I thought, but also that I'd never let anyone manipulate me again. Now, I'm not saying I've forgotten everything or that I've moved on completely. It's going to take time. But I know one thing for sure: Jessica's betrayal was a wake-up call. I refuse to be a victim of someone's lies anymore. I'll do whatever it takes to move forward, to heal, and to find real happiness. Because I've learned the hard way that trust is fragile and some people, like her, are better left in the past. Honestly, if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: don't ignore your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. And if someone is lying and cheating on you, the best revenge is walking away and rebuilding your life without them. Trust me, it's the only way to truly be free. It's been a few weeks since I left Jessica, and honestly, I feel like I'm only just beginning to breathe again. The initial shock and rage have started to fade, replaced by a strange sense of clarity. I see now how blind I was, how much I sacrificed for a girl who didn't deserve even half of my trust. The pain will stay with me for a while, sure, but it's also made me realize something important. I am stronger than I thought. I survived her betrayal and I'm still standing. Living alone has been a mix of quiet nights and bitter mornings, but I've learned to find peace in my own company again. I've started working on myself, hitting the gym, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected, and even going back to some hobbies I'd put on hold. It's not about forgetting her. It's about healing, about rebuilding my sense of self. Every day is a small step forward, even if some days feel like 2 steps back. I don't regret what happened because it forced me to see what I truly deserve: respect, honesty, loyalty. Things I was willing to give her, but she threw away like garbage. In the end, I realized that revenge wasn't necessary. Jessica got her karma in her own way, her lies unraveled, her reputation damaged, her boyfriend walking away. I don't need to punish her anymore. The best revenge I could give her is to live well without her. To show her she lost someone who truly cared and she wasted it on her selfish, manipulative ways. That's what I'll focus on, that I am better off without her bullshit, and I refuse to let her define me anymore. Looking back, I'm grateful for the wake-up call. It's taught me to trust my instincts, to listen to that little voice inside that says something off. No matter how much you love someone, you have to keep your guard up, because some people, like Jessica, will find a way to betray you in the worst ways if you let them. I've learned to value myself more than ever, to put boundaries in place, and to never again be so blind to someone's true nature. Now, I feel hope again. I know I'll find someone who will love me for who I am, someone who won't lie or cheat or manipulate. I'll rebuild my life with cautious optimism, knowing that I've already faced the worst and come out the other side. Jessica's betrayal was a nightmare, but it became my lesson. And from that, I know I'll be better, stronger, more aware than ever before. So to anyone out there going through something similar, my advice is simple: trust your instincts. Don't rationalize betrayal or manipulation for the sake of love. Cut the toxic people out of your life, even if it hurts. Because true happiness comes when you stop chasing illusions and start living your truth. I'm here now and I'm finally free.